So in today's video, we meet Joshua. Joshua was appointed by God to be the leader of the Israelites after Moses. Now Joshua had two jobs. One was to lead the Israelites into the promised land, and the second was to divide the Israelites into the 12 tribes. Now Joshua's journey to the promised land wasn't as easy as he thought. But without further delay, let's go and see what Joshua's journey was really like.
Oh, children, the adventures I went through to get to this land. The Lord is merciful. Merciful, I say, merciful. Rejoice, children, for He has regarded us, and He has guided us through the battles and sufferings. My time is coming, but the graces of God are only beginning. Listen, children, to my words. Let me tell you the ways God brought me here. My God began after I was appointed by God to lead the people of Israel to the promised land, and so we set off.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this flight from the Jordan airport flying towards the promised land. This is your chief flight attendant speaking, and today's flying time is expected to be 7 hours and 36 minutes. The weather en route is mostly cloudy skies with potential showers of manna. The weather in the promised land is expected to be flowing with milk and honey, a land prosperous for all. The cabin crew will now proceed to point out the safety features of this plane. Thank you for choosing the Little Evangelist Airlines. Enjoy your flight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how to fasten the seatbelt of truth around your waist. Make sure you understand how to do this so that you can stand against all evil in the heavenly places. To be safe, we recommend your belt stays fastened whenever you're in your seat, just in case there is unexpected turbulence in your spiritual life. In the unlikely case that there is a drop in pressure, then oxygen masks will fall from above your head. Please adjust your own mask before helping your child or anyone else with theirs. There are 4 exits on this flight, 2 at the back, 1 on the left to remind us of the past of Egypt, and 1 on the right showing the covenant God made with Moses. There are 2 at the front of the aircraft, 1 on the left to show the 40 years spent in the wilderness, and 1 to the right, which is the last challenge before entering the promised land. The floor is clearly marked with the light of the Word of God, so make sure you're wearing shoes that make you ready to proclaim the gospel of truth, if the circumstance calls for it. For your safety, there is a life jacket under your seat, also known as the breastplate of righteousness, which is so that you may stand strong in the Lord. To wear it, take it out of the plastic bag and place the vest over your head. The strap goes around your waist and attaches with a buckle. Pull on the end of the strap to tighten. As you leave the aircraft, pull sharply on the red plastic handles to inflate. As we get ready for takeoff, please check that your seat belts are fastened, seats and tray tables are up, and your electronics are off, as the crew come through to make a final cabin check. Please do let us know if you have any questions or need any help. Thank you for your attention, and we wish you all a safe journey.
Well, it should be a smooth flying from here, straight to the promised land. Ooh, I can't wait. The view from here is absolutely incredible. You see that? That is absolutely beautiful. Anyway, That's interesting. Newspaper. Tension between lands arises. That's interesting. I hope that doesn't happen in the Promised Land. Anyway. Wow. What's that?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. As you might be aware by now, we're having some control difficulties within the plane. So we're attempting an emergency landing just before Jericho Airport. We'll be landing in approximately 3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jordan Airport. The local time is 2:53 p.m. and the temperature is 21 degrees.
Oh. How am I going to get to Jericho Airport? I think it's... could it... that... is it there? There? I think it's that way.
Hello, little evangelist. Do you know about Rahab and the 2 spies sent to Jericho? Don't worry, let me tell you. Joshua sent out 2 men to spy out the land of Jericho. Now when these men entered Jericho, they stayed at the house of Rahab. The king of Jericho, however, heard that spies had come to his land. So he sent his men to Rahab's house to find out what was going on. They knocked on the door and then they kicked it down. They said to her, "Bring out the men who have come to you." But Rahab had secretly hidden the men on her rooftop. She said to the king's men, "Yes, it is true that men had come to me, but I did not know where they came from. And they left my house before it became dark. But hurry, if you go now, you can overtake them." So the king's men quickly ran out in order to catch up with the spies. Rahab then went to the rooftop to speak with the spies. She said to them, "I know that the Lord your God has given you this land, and we all melt in fear before you. We have heard how your God dried up the waters of the Red Sea before you left Egypt, and how you have defeated the kings of the nearby lands. We know that the Lord your God is a God of heaven above and the earth below. Now, because I have dealt kindly with you, make a promise to me that you will spare me and my family when you come to invade this land." So the spies agreed and made a promise with her. As long as she promised not to tell the king or his men, they would ensure that her life would be okay. They told her she must tie a red rope on the window of her house, so that when they saw that, they would spare her house and all those inside her house. Later on, when the Israelites came to invade Jericho, the spies remembered their promise, and all of Rahab's family were saved.
Joshua was the leader of Israelites who God would use to take his people into the Promised Land. Joshua readied his people to cross the Jordan River, which was the only thing dividing the Israelites from the land that God had promised to them. They camped beside the river for 3 days waiting, just as the Lord had commanded them. At this time of year, the Jordan River was flooded and flowing with so much water that it was impossible to cross on foot. God told Joshua to tell the people that the priest would carry the Ark of Covenant and lead the people through the water. He told the priests to step into the rushing waters, and when they would do this, the waters would stop flowing. And as soon as the priests did this, the water of Jordan River did stop flowing, and the priests stood with the Ark of the Covenant on the dry ground as the Israelites crossed to the other side. God told Joshua to send 12 men from the 12 tribes of Israel to take 12 stones from the place that the priests were standing. When all this had been finished, as God commanded, Joshua called the priests from the Jordan. As their feet left the Jordan River, the waters came back into place just as they had been. They brought their stones to their camp and set them as a memorial, so future generations might remember the story of how God has brought His people through the Jordan River on dry ground.
My dear children, I thought the hardest part of the journey would have been over by then. Oh, I was wrong. It was only the beginning. Let me tell you what happened next. Once we crossed the river Jordan, we still had to make our way into Jericho to get to the airport. But the city walls were shut tight. The land was scared of us Israelites. They knew our God was powerful. They didn't want us to enter. But the Lord instructed us to march around Jericho 7 times. And sure enough, God performed His miracle.
Well, get your horns out and march around Jericho.
We're gonna march around and blow as we go.
We're gonna march all day around and around until the walls come tumbling down. And we're gonna blow high.
And we're gonna blow low.
We're gonna march and play our horns as we go around the walls of Jericho.
God had instructed Joshua to gather the Israelites, saying, "March around the wall of Jericho for 7 days in silence, to conquer the city of Jericho." But on the last day, God told them to do something special, to march around the wall 7 times. And on the 7th time, God instructed them to shout out as loud as they can, so the walls of Jericho would come tumbling down. Here they come now on their last round.
Out and march around Jericho.
We're gonna march around and bang as we go.
We're gonna march all day around and around until the walls come tumbling down. And we're gonna bang high.
And we're gonna bang low.
We're gonna march and play our drums as we go around the walls of Jericho. We're gonna march and play our
And finally we made it to Jericho Airport. The journey is taking longer than I thought. Where's my passport? Aha, there it is. Finally, fantastic. I just need to get through the security, get on the plane, and finally get to the promised land. You see, they say the second time's the charm, so fingers crossed, hoping it's gonna be smooth flying from here onwards. See you there.
Sir, please stop right there. We need to have you searched as the alarm has gone off.
Why? Is everything okay?
Well, since the alarm has gone off, I need to ask you something. Have you got anything in there that you haven't declared?
No. Everything in here is mine.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Then would you mind just placing the bag on the floor for me to have a search?
Okay.
Thank you. What do we have here? Gold, silver. Sir, these are the things that have been reported stolen. Have you got any explanation?
No. I haven't stolen anything. I never steal. These are all mine.
Well, doesn't look like that, sir. Guys, I'm going to need some help over here and tell the captain of the flight that this flight will not be departing until further investigation. Thank you. Sir, please make your way over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second flight EA726 departing to the Promised Land has currently been cancelled due to an ongoing police investigation regarding stolen items being recovered with the belongings of one of the passengers on board the flight.
Hey kids, now I'm here to tell you the real story of what Achan did. So when the Israelites conquered Jericho, God gave them a strict instruction not to take any precious metal, but to put that in the treasury of God. But what did a man called Achan, the one that I just called, do? He decided to take it with himself, or some of it by himself. So what happened in between? God, or the Israelites, had to go to a city called Ai to spy on the people. And when they went there, the spies told Joshua, who was the leader, you know, there's only a few thousands of people. We don't need to take the whole squad. You know, we only need a few thousands to go because they're a very small city. So the Israelites went there, but what happened was the people of Ai defeated the Israelites. And what happened after that? 36 of them were killed. And they came back and they cried out and prayed to God to see why this has happened. And God said, you see, I gave you an instruction and somebody among you has done wrong. So Joshua went out to see who did it, and eventually they searched tribes and families and households, and they found out that this man called Achan, he had stolen some gold and silver and some of the precious metals. And what happened to him? He was killed. What we learn from this is that, firstly, we should not steal. Another thing, God sees everything, and we can't hide any wrong things that we do from God. And maybe something that would have been good for Achan, he should have confessed and said sorry when he did wrong. Oh well, it's time for him to go to jail.
My dear children, never take anything that isn't yours. You can hide it from people, but you can never hide it from God. And because of Achan's sin, he never got to see the promised land. But because God saw the hearts of the faithful and brought us here to the land, he divided the people into their right territories and put people in the places they need to be. Come close, my children. My time is ending soon. Let me bless you so that the Lord may strengthen you and guide you through the path you need to take to be closer with him.
Wow, a lot happened in that story. So let's go over it one by one. First, Joshua was going to the promised land, but that was when they got stuck in Jordan. And who did he meet? Yeah, that's right. He met Rahab, and that's when we learn about the story of the spies. Now, after they were in safety, they had to cross the River Jordan. And after crossing the River Jordan, there was yet another obstacle. The walls of Jericho were shut, and the Israelites couldn't enter. So what did they do? They decided to walk around the walls of Jericho and pray. This is known as the Jericho prayer. Now, it is still a very powerful prayer, and a lot of people still use it. Also known as a prayer walk. And it is simply, as it says, walking and praying, but it is one of the most powerful ways of praying. So why don't you use it and let us know? Now, after the walls of Jericho had crumbled down by the Israelites' powerful prayers, they were finally able to get into Jericho. And after getting into Jericho, they could make their way to the promised land. Well, all of them except one person. And do you guys remember who that was? Yeah, that's right, Achan. Achan wasn't allowed into the promised land because he stole something that wasn't his. And the Lord stopped him and his family from entering the promised land. And then Joshua and the other Israelites entered the promised land. Now, I hope you guys learned so much about the book of Joshua, and don't forget to stay tuned for next week's video.